Welcome to No Options with Ty Gipson, the show where life's toughest trials become the foundation for your greatest triumphs. Real stories, raw conversations, and the unwavering belief that you were built to overcome. Now, here's your host, Ty Gipson.
All right, guys, I am super excited today. I know we've had a lot of really good guests, but I can't explain to you. I've had a chance to spend several years with a good friend of mine and a legend. When I say a legend, I mean a legend in the sporting good business. Trippy Saxon, thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Man, I'm excited. You know, Trippy, when I start talking about no options mindset and I talk about all the overcoming adversity and just encouraging people. When I think about encouraging people, you come to mind for sure. And one of the things that I want to start out with is every single day, when I say, Trippy, how you doing? What is your response?
I'm doing better than I deserve.
Every time. I hear that all the time from Trippy. So Trippy, again, it's great to be here. I wanted to have you on because, again, I think you've got some very unique stories and you've got a really cool multiple things through your story. But one of them is, let's just start with, you grew up in Meridian, Mississippi. Talk to us about that and growing up in Mississippi and what was that like?
Meridian, back then, and hopefully still today, time creates change, but I had a great childhood. Grew up with some great friends. Population of that city then was somewhere between 35 and 45,000. Great athletic facilities for Mississippi back then. Good education system in the town. It was became a one pony town high school, 2 middle schools, 11 elementary schools, and 1 junior college that it turned into a great community for the area. I grew up playing, introduced to sports, loved baseball, had a little setback. I broke my arm 3 days for the Little League World Series, and I was supposed to be the starting pitcher. And when we had batting practice that morning and we came back for infield practice that afternoon, and we were representing Mississippi, I played third base and a grounder was hit to me to start the practice, and I threw it over the first baseman's head. The next one I threw it in the dirt, and the coach got kind of perturbed and slapped the bat down on the plate and said, "We're not going to start practice this way." Hit me another one real hard. I threw a perfect strike to the first baseman. My arm cracked. I knew I broke it. And my friend in center field, and I was running around like this. And so back then they had pay phones in concession stand. The president of the league went and called my mother. He couldn't believe it was broke. My dad happened to be taking a steam in a whirlpool at this health club with Dr. Rush, which is Rush Hospital, is named after her. And my arm had swollen up. And so Dr. Rush, they took me out there. He said, "You probably need to go get an x-ray." And 12 days later, I get out of the hospital. They put a pin through the marrow of my bone. I still have the screw in there today. I would say that the next year when they drafted players for Babe Ruth, I was the last one drafted. I wasn't going to quit. I was going to continue to try. They put me in right field. I was alternate for the All-Star team. The next year I made All-Stars. So I overcame, I couldn't throw a baseball through a paper bag, but I was that was a adversity that I was going to overcome. At the same time, my best friend still today that I met when I was 6 years old, I took up tennis, and his dad taught me how to serve the ball, and I started taking tennis lessons from him, and played for a state championship in high school. Didn't win. The next year I won the state championship in mixed doubles and went on to junior college and played for 2 there, and I'll come back later on and share that with you. The same guy beat me 2 years in a row.
Oh.
So
you had some adversity early on. I mean, you started out, which
it's a bone disease.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I still have a scar tie
Really?
that looks like I was in a knife fight, and it looks like a railroad track. Of course, as I've aged, it's kind of decreased, From
well, I guess, that's a point that we all have we deal with stuff all the time, right? And I love hearing that story because it's just, again, talking to our audiences, we're just trying to encourage through stories like yours, just encourage people, whatever it is they're going through today. I mean, sometimes it may be they woke up and their car wouldn't start, or it may be they may be dealing with some major health problems or relationship problems, whatever that looks like. We're just trying to encourage people to realize they can push through adversity, and there's always a good thing on the other side if you can push through. So again, you growing up in Meridian had some talent, but some of the setbacks with the bone disease. And so talk a little, you brought up a little bit about changing your sports kind of over to tennis and doing that, but then you got to a point where it was time to go to college, right? And then you chose, I think you went to a smaller college and then made some choices on the different colleges. Talk a little bit about that college.
So I was on the state football championship team, and more or less I didn't come off the field. Saturdays and Sundays was kind of tough sometimes.
Yeah.
But when high school was over in '72, I went to work selling cable TV door to door for my best friend's dad.
And let me tell you something, guys. If you can sell anything if you've sold cable TV door to door. So I tell you what, that's probably what's made you such a successful salesman, Trippy. But go ahead, I didn't mean to interrupt. But
that's
true
fine.
statement.
And it wasn't easy. I mean, it's a Southern company. They dressed us right, and we had white shirts, polos, had pockets on it, and we'd go door to door and we'd let the people know we were coming, and it was a trial offer is what it was. And you would think that everybody for $1 would want to try the cable for 30 days. Well, I got 52 no's in a row. I had to sit down on the corner and regroup, remount, and reload. And and then I began to catch on. And one thing that I learned from that, Ty, I would say, when you leave a porch, and being a mother or dad that you called on, you don't want to be rude, one. You want to be professional, two. But something that set in my mind then is sell to sell again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Because when you left that porch, they might go inside and look at that packet. They might remember a few words that you said about the trial offer, and the next morning they might call the cable company and say, "We'll bring Trippy back out here," because we put our name on every of the little proposals that we had out there. So
well, that's a
I think
that's
that
a good
helped
lesson.
me in
sure.
life.
Well, and that's a good way to think about it, because we never know, right? I mean, circles come back around, right? People that you meet in one place may end up being in a different. So that's a good lesson for all of us to kind of remember. So, I mean, you started out as a door-to-door sales guy and had some success, right? I mean,
we I would say, I mean, I did it from August through almost May, and then I came back, and there was a break in between jobs, and I got a construction job. And you talking about learning real quick in the hot summer days on Highway 20, tying iron on bridges and cleaning them.
Oh, God.
I went and enrolled in Meridian Junior College pretty quick.
Well, that's one way to make us realize we want to go to college. And I think I heard a lot of stories about that, like going to work and then realizing, you know what, I
didn't want to do that the rest of my life.
Yeah. Well, that was whoever made you do that was
I give credit to my dad for that one.
Yeah.
He got me the job.
Probably with that in mind, knowing that it would help you in school. So keep talking about that school. You went there, and then you had some changes after that.
Yeah. So let me share something with you. In this great little town that we grew up in, Meridian Junior College, there was a lady named Jean Kidder, and she had wrote a manual or a memoir or a book, however way you want to say it, for elementary physical education. And so the Meridian Junior College had put this into play. Being the 11 elementary schools I mentioned 5 or 10 minutes ago, and it was a paid position. You interviewed to get through that, into that class, and then that's where I learned to do lesson plans, and we would teach our peers before we would go out to the elementary schools. And there was a girl signed to the school. She handled the 1st through 6th grade girls. I handled the 1st through 6th grade boys. And we had lesson plans, and we would do motor movement skills, red rover, I mean, roll balls, teach them this. And then the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders on Saturdays, we had competition with the other schools, you know. So we coached them flag football, basketball, you know, from that standpoint. So that was another learning experience for me from that standpoint. I got voted 2 years in a row by my peers Play Teacher of the Year, which is still today. I mean, I look at it and I appreciated that, but I think that showed me that I wanted to further my education, one, two, go to college and become a coach. I had coached what I call 9 and 10-year-olds baseball, structured baseball program, and we went 30-1 in 2 years. The first year we lost the town championship. The next year we went undefeated. I'm still in touch with those kids today. I just went to one of them's son just got married, and I mentored him through high school. So that's another story. But awesome. Great little experience there. Had an opportunity to choose if I wanted to go to Southern Mississippi, or I'd been approved to come to Mississippi State. If my best friend would have gone to Southern and not Millsaps, I probably would have gone to Southern. I felt like I could play tennis in the Metro Conference. I wasn't sure I could play tennis in the SEC. And so I went on up to Mississippi State, and glad that I did. And another challenging times, some days you don't know where your next meal's gonna come from. You just keep plugging away and stuff. So
now, were you still, when you went to Mississippi State, were you still selling on the weekends, or what were you doing there?
That's a great question. So I paid for my education at Mississippi State by selling cable during the summer months. You know, it's just like today, all the college kids are home for 30 days. Well, you know, you get out 1st of May, and we work right up to August. So we would have some time to make some pretty good money from that standpoint.
And that's what helped you get through your college days, is working. And okay, so you go to Mississippi State, and then you, I guess, as you started working, you had to continue to worked on your degree. And tell us about kind of the years of college there.
Years of college. If they'd let me back in, I'd go back today.
I think a lot of us would, Trippy. I really do. I think that's a good point.
I arrived, and I was under a work-study program, and I was going to work in the cafeteria, which was not a bad thing. But I get a call from the tennis coach at Mississippi State, and I knew him. He was from my hometown. He had gone to Ole Miss and played tennis there, and it was his first job into the college ranks. And he called me and he said, "Trippy, this is Rodney." He said, "I'm the new tennis coach here." Well, naturally, I congratulated him, and so I said, "Well, good." I said, "Let's get together." And he said, "Well, are you enrolled here?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "You got your hours?" I said, "Yeah, I've got my schedule." And he said, "Well, I've got a lot of international players, and they're not approved for the fall season, and I need you to come out for the team." And I said, "Well, when do you practice?" He said, "Well, we practice in the afternoons." I said, "Well, Rodney, I'm washing dishes in the afternoon in the cafeteria." And he said, "Well, go over to the Coliseum and go get your schedule changed and see if that'll work out." And it's a little bit of a long story. So, I mean, so I've got a St. Louis ball cap on, and I got on tie-dye t-shirt, and I got on flip-flops and tennis shorts. And I head on over there, and I walk up to this gentleman, in a little scratchy voice. He said, "What can I do for you, son?" I said, "Well, I said, I need to change my schedules." And he said, "Well, it's 2 days before school starts." He said, "That's costly." I said, "Yes, sir." I said, the tennis coach has called me and needs me to come out for the team because his international players' transcripts aren't in line to play in the fall. He said, "Now, what's your name?" I told him. And so he said, "Well, I'm Dr. Horn. I'm head of the department." I said, "Yes, sir." Like, when people, I'm supposed to know him. I don't know him. I've only been on campus 2 days. He said, "Well, my office is out the door and up the hall. I'll see you in the morning at 8 o'clock. I said, "Yes, sir." So I go buy a sack of donuts. I'm there at 7:30 in the morning, waiting on Dr. Horn to get there. And he said, "Trippy, this is what we're going to do." He said, "I've changed your schedule. I see that you're enrolled in physical education, recreation here. I'm head of that department." He said, "You're going to take classes from me, Dr. Lay, Dr. O'Neill, and Dr. Jones." And then he said, "We'll have you on the courts at 2 o'clock that afternoon, and you can practice." And then he wrote this guy's name down. And he said, "You go see Ralph Bender." It's just like, I remember his name. He's in the intramural department, and he'll find something for you. I said, "Fine." So I leave his office. I've got my schedule changed. I go see Ralph Bender, and I began to work in the intramural department, and I called sports there. I became an official, which I had done before in college. Also, I had done that in my hometown of Meridian, doing that.
So that helped you just kind of help ends meet.
And so I told you a while ago, I played for 2 state championships in junior college and got beat. Well, in the fall season, I played that guy in Jackson, Mississippi at a fall tournament that Ole Miss, Southern, Delta State, Alcorn, Jackson State, all of us was there. And so I finally got revenge back on him.
Oh, good. There you go. Well, that worked.
Great guy.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, and so you got that, which is a cool story. You wasn't expecting to go play tennis, and things happen, right? Things change, and you were able to jump in there. But so, and then you got through. You played on the tennis for a little while. Tennis team for a while.
I played that fall. Played 4 matches. I hung around for the spring a little bit. I wasn't going to be in the top 8. I had to go to work. And
Right.
I was, sometimes when you're at school, money's kind of tight, and so I was in the intramural department, and then I sold programs at the Mississippi State football games to make some change, from that standpoint. I did it on the other side of the field where the kids wasn't, the students, because I was embarrassed. I didn't want them to see me doing it.
Oh, well, that's awesome. So, and you got, obviously trying to find ways to make things happen, right? Sometimes it's just not going to be, a laid out farce, and you got to find ways to get through it, which you've obviously done. So I don't want to skip through anything because I want to talk. You got to college, and then when did you shift over into kind of a working more? You got through college a little bit, and then when did you shift over and start doing some work?
When you do your student teaching, and they sent me to my hometown, which was good. I could live at home and didn't have that cost.
Right.
They have Dr. O'Neill graded me. He would come down twice during the 90 days or however many it was. Then the coach that they put you under in my hometown, and they let me do the tennis team, by the way. They critique you, but you went back through Dr. Horn's office. So when I got through doing my student teaching, I went back through Dr. Horn's office, and he reads through what the principal says, what the coach says, what his department says. He said, "Trippy, I understand and look that you got 9 hours left." And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "I'm going to bring you back as a grad assistant, okay? And I'll get you a middle school job somewhere in the radius of 30 miles from here, and we'll make some money, and then you can take evening classes, from that standpoint. And with that come grading papers." I said, "Dr. Horn, that sounds great." But I said, while I was home, the cable, as you well know, I've talked to y'all and did a presentation in front of the class. I sell cable, they landed a huge new bill in Montgomery, Alabama, and I got a chance to get out of debt. I got a chance to get in the positive and make some pretty good money. And he says, well, what's pretty good money? And I told him, and he went, whoa. He said, well, let's go to lunch. And I went to lunch with him on Tuesday. That was on a Thursday. It was just like it was yesterday to me. And he said, Trippy, he said, you know, I'm a father figure, which he was. And he said, what I feel that you need to do, and he said, I think you need to take that cable job. And he said, get out of debt. And he took a sip of his iced tea, and he said, I hate it because you'll never come back and finish these 9 hours. And I took a sip of my tea, and I said, you know, Dr. Horn, I said, I'm gonna come back. And so went and sold cable, made real good money. I mean,
Got you out of debt? Is that what the goal?
Got me out of me out of debt. During that time also, the next year I got to go to Wimbledon, which I paid for.
Oh, wow.
Being a tennis player, that doesn't happen. I went with my best friend. His dad got us. I sat in the player's box, which I didn't play there, but the passes that we got, and so we had a great time there at Wimbledon in 1979 there, 78, when Borg played Connors. And that's another story that I could go into, which was unique. And so after cable, my friends peers at school that I knew, and really another one, they were all coming to Dallas to interview. And so I had some time in between Montgomery and Miramar, Florida, which is Hollywood, Florida. And I drove out to Dallas and happened to be at the right place at the right time. A guy from Meridian, Mississippi had become part owner of a great rep group called H.B. Hughes Company. And I had got his son involved in the cable with us also. And I interviewed for the position. I borrowed a suit from him, taped it up, shoes. It wasn't his decision because H.B. Hughes represented Adidas. So it was the Adidas people's position to fill. And I was gonna be a promotion man, and didn't hear anything from him. So I go to Hollywood, Florida, and selling cable down there in May, June, July, August. Mid-September, I get a call from a lady, and she said, are you still interested in coming to work for us? I said, absolutely. So you gotta know, I sold cable for my best friend, okay, his dad's company, and the guy that he had running it, I gotta go tell him, I'm leaving, you brought me down here, you're gonna be one per body short. I'm just a young kid. So I went and hit him right between the eyes, and I said, Mr. Poole, I said, Randy, I've been offered a position to work for Adidas. And he said, what? And so I came to Dallas and went through training and went to work for H.B. Hughes Company as a promotion man in 4 different states. And it was a great experience. And then the next thing that I knew is that I had an opportunity to help form a company. Am I going to? We're going good?
You're good. Okay. You're rolling. This is good.
So the company had changed. Time creates change, and Adidas was making changes, and they wanted to hire their own sales force.
Right.
And so the company was in kind of some turmoil. And so one of the guys there formed a company, and I went on board with them, and I put a little money into the pot. And there were several of us, and we formed a company called Bob Wood & Associates. And I was there for about 9 months, and then E.C. Frazier Company offered me a job. I think you're familiar with them. On a Friday. I turned it down. And Saturday morning, I get a call from Russell Athletic, guy that was the sales manager for him for 3 states. And I kind of knew him. He was a competitor, as you well know. I didn't know him, but I knew who he was.
Right.
And so I called his house, and his wife said, "Who's calling?" And I told her, and I said, "He's fishing up at the reservoir." I said, "Oh, I'd love to go on fishing." She said, "I didn't want to talk to you about fishing. If you could be at our house in the morning on Sunday, I'll have breakfast for you, and he wants to visit with you." Well, I mean, I just turned down the E.C. Frazier Company, and I get a call, so I don't sleep good that night. What's he go
sure.
offer to me, you know?
Yeah.
So Russell, being what they were back then, you know, he wrote out a architect sheet, gave me a 3-year plan that they had in store, and trusted me enough because of there was personnel involved. And he said, "Why don't you come by the office on Tuesday?" And I said, "Well, I'm leaving this afternoon. I'm going south. I'm going to work south and then come back. I'll be back Friday." He said, "Well, just come by the office on Friday." So I get back. I come to his office at 2:00. He's on the phone. His secretary is making me, you know, she said, "Can I get you this, get you that?" So I go in his office, and we're sitting there talking, and he tells me he's got approval for the position, and he's offered me the position. And so I said, "Well, Mr. Walker," I said, I need to think about that over the weekend." Well, he turned red as a cherry. He said, "I got 90 resumes in this drawer, and you want to think about it over the weekend?" And I said, "Well, what scares me?" He said, and he kind of put his glasses down. I said, "Well, Mr. Walker, what scares me is two things. If I don't sell $4.5 million worth of volume like you've done, and you've given me the reports," I said, "you go get rid of me." And I said, what if Russell sells?" He said, "I never thought about Russell selling." So he said, "Trippy, I got your back." He said, "If you sell 2 million, that's fine with me." And so I accepted the position, and I was there 32 years.
32 years. So I want to jump in right there, because when I first got in sporting goods, and Trippy had been in long before I ever, when I would show up at these coaching schools, Trippy was the guy you met. Anybody that was at these coaching schools, vendors, knew Trippy. And I'll tell you guys, this shirt and tie is he's known for a shirt and tie. Trippy, and I always respect that. He's the guy. It could be 90 degrees in San Antonio, Texas in the summer, and you got your shirt and tie on. And I think that's just a really cool thing that you continue to do. So everybody knows Trippy as a shirt and tie. So, but I will say, Trippy, that many years in sporting goods, and then at the end, Russell ended up making some changes, right?
Yes.
And I remember Russell. If you guys are they owned the sporting goods market for years, right? I mean, I can remember our jerseys that would never tear, right? They lasted forever. I'm not sure how Russell ever resold stuff, because it felt like it was the best quality ever made. The Schimmel shirts and all that stuff. Russell was on everything I remember wearing as a junior high and high school kid. So, but anyway, you went through Russell for all those years, and then pick up there, kind of what happened at the end.
So the Russell days was a learning experience. I mean, back then they couldn't deliver very well. A lot of conversations when the phone rang, it wasn't, when a customer, an end user, gives you an order, they expect you to fulfill it. And we were, Russell was just an incredible, fantastic, tremendous company. If you had seen this little town in Alexander City, Alabama, 9,000 people worked in the company, 13,000 population. The hospital's named Russell. I mean, there's Russell Lands. I mean, it's down in Lake Martin, which is just a beautiful little area. A great management team. There's a difference, and I think you know what I say. There's a difference between good and great. A great management team. Didn't always agree, but you don't always agree from that standpoint. But I learned how to be more transparent, I think, from that standpoint. And just when we took an order and we couldn't deliver it, I would call, and we didn't sell direct, Ty. we sold through sporting goods stores like Athletic Supply, Jim Bridges Sporting Goods. You were talking about Franklin's, down in the Beaumont area. So we went through, but I think one thing that I did too is that going back to when Mr. Walker Barney hired me, I mean, think about this, 2.5 million people in Mississippi. He was selling 4.5 million in volume. I mean, Mississippi math, you can figure that out. He had $1 and some change of each human being that lived there. So I increased it $1 million the first year. He called me one April and said, "What did you do?" And I thought he was getting on me. I said, what do you mean? He said, "Well, you're making me look bad." So, I mean, I did the W. I did the work. And I knew that I had to do the work. I was motivated to perform, but, to excel
And to gain
from
his
that
respect.
standpoint. And I got a little, I loved working door to door because it was 100% commission. And I had a base at Russell and commission on top of that. So that felt good from that standpoint.
Right.
But time creates change. Russell made a decision, the board did, to sell to Warren Buffett. And Fruit of the Loom, which is another story that Buffett got personal because he worked at J.C. Penney's, and when he bought us, I remember exactly where I was the time. My CSR, customer service lady, Cindy Powell, I'm at Sherman High School delivering some 10266 MK jerseys.
He remembers every number of every jersey.
And had done it for a guy named Chris Hacker and had got somebody to print them. And Cindy calls and said, "Russell just sold." And I said, "To who?" And she said, "Warren Buffett." She said, "Fruit of the Loom." I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "We'll probably be in Walmart in 5 years." Well, I was wrong. It took longer to get there than that. So Fruit took us over. They left the athletic division alone. They moved it to Bowling Green, Kentucky, a corporation, very well run. When Mr. Buffett bought it in arbitration, before he bought it, he went and got the management team that ran it when it was successful. And they turned it in about 18 months instead of 36 months. So what's the next thing we need to do? And they, Mr. Buffett asked them, they said, "We need to go buy Russell," because we were Walmart's, Jerseys was Walmart's biggest cloth vendor back then. And with that label, Jerseys label. And so 11 years after Fruit had us, when you get a certain tenure in life, it's go come, I mean, there's just, that's HR, that's the way the rules are set up and stuff. And I remember, I have a boss at home, a very good lady, just like all of us do. And I would tell her things that would happen before they happen. And so in December of that year, I walk a lot. At that time, I was walking about 6 miles a day. And so in between, around this time, school's out and I'm walking. I said, "Cheryl," I said, "they're going to retire me." And she said, "No, you just keep doing what you're doing." I said, "No, you just watch. They're going to retire. So I'm not going to be the only one, but it's December." Okay. Well, I had got a gentleman into Russell that I thought a lot of. I told him that if they didn't hire him, I was going to resign for a sales position in Oklahoma. And he worked his way through Oklahoma, applaud him. He hit his numbers, and then he went inside and he became the sales manager there. Just a good human being. And I had been in Waco in February with Laura Menzer. I don't know if you remember Laura or not. She worked at Jerry's, and helping her that day, and we'd been calling on some schools. And I was in my office that night, and the phone, I got a text. Kevin never texted me. He would always call me, and he would call for advice. And that was between me and him, even though he ran the sales force. So he texted me and said, call me in about 15 minutes. Well, I want to know what it was about. So boom, I called him. He's getting in his car and you hear the ding, ding, ding. And he said, you got a second? I said, yeah. And so he told me the package, what was going to happen and stuff. And he said, you're not supposed to be saying this, you know, we're going to let the other people know here in into March, you know. And I said, well, Kevin, I'm not sure I'm ready to lock the locker, is what I call it. And so I got a little, not pushy, but, you know, I put up a little wall, you know, and he said, well, just listen to me. So I sat back down. I walked down the steps. He told me, he said, can you talk tomorrow? I said, no, it's Tuesday night. I said, I got appointments Wednesday and Thursday. I'll be in my office. Said, Friday at 2 o'clock, I'd like for Cheryl to hear the package also. Well, she can't say anything. I said, you know, that's no, we didn't have Zoom calls back then. We had phones. So she's home, we go in there and they do the package and stuff like that. But before we did that, I walked down the steps and she looked at me and said, what's wrong? I said, just like I told you, nothing's wrong. I said, I told you in December that they go retire me. That was Kevin telling me that I'm retired.
Right.
So,
Well, yeah,
you know, some of the guys that they retired didn't like it. I mean, I knew I'm not ready. I'm gonna go do something. I'm gonna go find something.
Well, and I'm gonna stop you right there because I think it's a good point, right? I mean, sometimes things happen to us that when we're not ready, it's kind of like adversity, right? I mean, that's a form of adversity. When we're not ready for something, something happens. But you took it in your mind, and I talk about this all the time. Mind's powerful. I mean, we could have shut down, right? You had an opportunity right there, and step one, as I talk about, step one in my approach is you grow or die. Are we going to just feel sorry for yourself, or are you going to go do something about it? And I think this is kind of start to keep going there because that's where you went and did something about it.
So let me back up just a second here. In Dr. Horn's class one day in Allen Hall at Mississippi State, he wrote something on the board. And I'm a college kid, you know. I'm ready to get out of this class. So I'm probably gonna go drink some beer, or go have fun, or go lie by the pool. I might have had an intramural game I had to call, but I'm walking toward the Union, and I'm thinking what he just wrote on the board. And he wrote on the board, positive attitudes create positive results. I go back, and it's still on that board, and I wrote that down.
That's
and that has stayed with me. Now, I'm not a perfect human being. If there's a perfect company out there, I want to go to work for them today, you know. But I feel like if people are positive, you've got a chance. You've got a chance to do what I call win. And I've always tried to win. I'm a furious competitor. I don't mind sharing that with you at all. I'm a clean competitor, you know, from that standpoint. So that's adversity. You've been a journey. You know, I've never called what I've had the opportunity to do, and I can't wait till tomorrow to do it again.
Sure.
I'm on a journey. You have that adversity. You can do what you said, or you can be positive and regroup, remount, and reload.
That's right.
And I couldn't do anything for, that was February. I couldn't do anything until after the other 8 guys knew what was going on. Through the Loom did it the right way, number one, which was a very positive thing. They had us come up there. They gave us a jersey with our number on it of service. I still applaud them today for doing that. I had several calls and opportunity to go do this, to go do that, to get out of the industry, number one, which I looked at. Number two, I could have gone back to a shoe company, which I'm glad that I didn't. And I got a call from Terry Moffitt at BSN. And I visited with him for about 3 hours, a little cafe down in Carrollton called the Rainbow Cafe that used to be an old-timey drugstore place, you know, that they turned into a restaurant. And that was my first visit. The next visit was into the corporate office, and I was thinking about maybe going into another field. And I said, you know, you spent all this time over here, at this tenure in your life, let's don't go get a new network. Let's stay where we are. Right. And BSN, being as aggressive as they were, they had bought Jerry's, they bought East Texas Sports Center, Paul Reynolds, who's a dear friend of mine. They had purchased Larry Black's in Oklahoma also. They had tried to buy Plano Sports Center and it just didn't work out. I remember when Bob Willard, who was the owner, proud owner of Plano Sports Center, called me that night and couldn't make the decision up. And here's a grown man sitting with his wife, Sarah, and we decided that it wasn't the best thing for them to sell at that time. Now, they did sell later.
Right.
You see, you don't, the word, you don't give up. You keep trying.
Right. Well, that's a point. You came over to BSN, and BSN was, as you were just talking about, they were acquiring and growing and moving. So you were getting in a company that was going. But I'll tell you, later on, and we'll fast forward a little bit here, but you've been in different roles with BSN, and the number one role, and I can tell you what Terry Moffitt, Terry Babilla, Adam, all of them. You're that guy that can walk in a room and in fact, I asked a couple guys before we interview, I said, give me one word that describes Trippy. And it was gentleman, genuine, just a good person. One of them said, just bringing people together. And that, honestly, that's probably exactly what Terry Moffitt and Terry Babilla and all those guys saw, because you can bring in the sporting guys. Trippy, you do an amazing job at this. It's just bringing people together, and I will give you credit for a lot of BSN's success in that, because I think you've really pulled all that together, and you've made a difference in a lot of people's life. I mean, we are on these calls, and you and I have been on many calls trying to figure out what to do here. How do we take care of this or that? And the number one thing you always say is, what does the customer need? What do we need to do for the customer, right? And I believe in anything that you're dealing with, think about other people. Don't always think about me, right? And I think you do an amazing job of that, and I think that's been a huge success for you.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to No Options. If this episode spoke to you, please take a moment and leave a review. And more importantly, please share it with someone who may need to hear it. You can find more stories, resources, and ways to connect over at my website, tygipson.com. And that is Gipson with a P, TYGIPSON.com. Remember, no matter where you are, your story isn't over yet if you live like you have no options. I'll see you next time.
You know Ty Gipson is an entrepreneur, a relentless survivor. Did you know he's also a powerhouse speaker? After overcoming 3 transplants, juvenile diabetes, he built thriving businesses with one mantra: no options. Ty transforms adversity into action. His keynotes ignite audiences with real-world resilience and 30-plus years of sales mastery. Are you ready to inspire your team? Book Ty Gipson today as your next speaker. You can call 512-944-4780 or head over to tygipson.com. That's Gipson with a P. It's time for your event to share the motivation that is no options.